a different show for you today. I'm not in my regular settings, but that's okay. I am sharing with you that I am at a location that is allowing me to do UPW with Tony Robbins. Yeah, there's a lot of technical little issues going on here and there, but you know what? That is not a high priority for me. It's why it doesn't usually work when I try and have technical problems. But so here I am. We are talking property management today. Hopefully, I'm going to be able to have my show guest tune in. Another technical difficulty. You know what? When life gives you lemons, you got to be able to make lemonade with them. And I got some stories to be able to share property management wise, which is another reason why people, they either say, oh, I don't want to get in, I don't want to be a landlord, and they don't invest, or they embrace the fact that there's going to be new things that come at them all the time. And landlording, or rental housing provider, as I like to refer to myself as, is something that you as an investor are either going to have to do yourself, you're going to have to oversee a professional that does it, but either way, you're going to be interacting with a lot of tenants. So stay tuned for this episode of The Full-Time Investor. I am Mandy Branham. If you haven't already, like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll keep bringing the same energy that I always do. Stay tuned for the show. Larry, if you're able to bring in my guest today, if he's in studio, that would be great. My property manager, aka Curtis Mohan. Oh, there's Larry. Maybe no Curtis.
Curtis is having technical difficulties, so you're gonna have to ramble on, and then I'll have to connect him when he gets connected.
Thank you for your help, Larry. Property management 101. Where do you start? Do you even want to start as a property manager? Do you want to be the one that takes the phone calls for the tenants? You know, a lot of people will go, oh, I can do that. And it's not about can you or can't you. It's about do you want to? Where's your frustration level? Where's your ability to be able to handle people? And it also goes back to, you know, the type of properties that you buy are the type of clients or tenants that you're going to attract and that you're going to have to do business with. So there's a lot of people that shop for the cheapest property around and, oh my gosh, I got a really great deal. There'll be properties, and I kind of discussed it a few weeks ago on my show about slumlords. I did not want, it had nothing to do with the tenants, but I would choose not to even have those buildings as buildings that my property managers would oversee. So step number one in property management 101, as an investor, I want you to be able to be very aware of the type of tenant profile that you are buying or attracting, and knowing that there's going to be a certain management level for that type of tenant profile. But how do you stay on top of property management? How do you stay on top of, you know, I'm probably going to talk a lot about Ontario, although I have been doing quite a bit of research about Quebec, and I'm also looking into another project that's going to take me into another province. And so there's different rules in different provinces. It's really important. But first, step number one is to be able to get familiar with this. Do not make up your own rules. Don't think that you don't need to follow the guidelines. Follow the guidelines. You know, I will say to tenants when we sign a lease that I follow the landlord tenant board rules. That protects you and me, okay? So I want you to know that you know, in Ontario, when you have the standard Ontario lease, you're going to be following the standard rules. That's really important, because if you happen to have an issue with a tenant and you go to the board and you don't have the right lease, you're messed. Okay, it's not good. None of these handshake deals anymore. None of these, you know, oh, they were a really great person. Oh, they just wanted a short term, so we didn't sign a lease. I really want you to look at your protection. Really want you to be able to know if you're going to take on property management. As much as people join coaching programs to be able to learn how to be an investor and learn how to buy and learn how to refinance and learn how to renovate properly, One of the things that Curtis and I have talked about often is that property management is the dash. You buy an asset and you sell an asset. You might hold it for 2 years, you might hold it for 10 years, 20 years, generationally. But the dash is the length of time that you hold it. And during that time, you're going to be managing tenants, you're going to be managing people, you're going to be providing a home for where people live. And for doing that, there's going to be concerns, there's going to be issues, there's going to be situations that you're not going to know how to deal with. There was a post very recently on Ontario Landlord Watch, I believe, and the gentleman said, he was sharing a picture and he said he's dealt with tenants and fires. He's dealt with frozen pipes and water in basements. He's dealt with a suicide in a unit. He's had guns shot off in his unit. He's had, properties just destroyed and vermins and whatever. And, as you're reading this, I was like, where is he kind of going with this statement or with his story, right? But I was engrossed in the story because I go, oh, I've never had anybody shoot up my properties. There's one, right? Don't say it. It's never going to happen. And he said that one of his tenants had the hydro cut off. And so there was fruit flies because he didn't empty the fridge when he had no hydro in his property. So there was fruit flies. So he black spray foamed the entire exterior of the fridge so that the fruit flies couldn't get out. So he takes back over this property. Obviously, when a tenant is that mentally unstable and unable to pay for hydro, you kind of think that they're not going to be paying for their rent. So he takes back over this thing and he finds this fridge with black all over it. And, you just kind of go like, to what extent is a tenant really going to go to, just where their mind's at sometimes. Don't sign up for that class. Don't sign up for why are the tenants doing what they're doing. Mr. Curtis, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yay, I'm glad you're here. So everybody, this is Curtis Mohan. He has been a guest on my show a couple times. If not, we've done some lives. Curtis and I have been together doing solutions-driven property management since 2016.
Yeah, 5, 6 years.
Yep. And together we have come up to some obstacles and we have overcome them and we've become expert property managers. So, just give us a little bit of a history of you as a property manager, Curtis, kind of like how you got into it, but now how you have a mindset for being a property for the units that you are with.
Sure. I'll tell it from a bit of a introspective thinking. I didn't know what was going on. I kind of joined the team to learn about joint ventures and buying real estate, and you had a really cool conversation with me when I was in Edmonton about what I could do if I came on your team, what we could do. And my wife had some prospective job opportunities at the hospital, but I was kind of moving back to the Midland area with nothing. I hadn't even thought about what I was going to do. And you just called me and said, hey, I got an opportunity for you. I don't even think I heard you speaking. I just said I was in. Like you were talking. I was like, yeah, I'm in. I land. We start right away. Basic stuff, learning how to fill units, talking to tenants, even just introducing to me, which went wrong for some people because they had no idea what was happening. Like, who are you? Why are you talking to me? Like, why do you know my personal information? Quickly, though, it turned from me kind of assisting you to running a property management company. There's a lot of in between there, helping manage projects and renovations and dealing with tenant fills and all that. But I remember sitting at the table with you and Mr. Brennan, and he was like, yeah, we need a property manager. And I'm like, we need a property manager. And I wrote it down, and you're like, I have one. He's right here. And I was like, me? Like, I'm the property manager? I didn't know what to do with that role. I don't even think I understood what the role meant. And you just told me to, I think the words were fake it till you make it, and just write the name down on everything. And now I don't even question it. I am through and through a property manager. My wife will let you know, I live, sleep, eat, that's everything. My phone is on my hip. And yeah, I'm constantly dealing with the property manager life. And now we're creating lots of systems that helps me, free up some time, but it's all I think about. So I don't know if that's good or bad.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you've just embraced the whole role, which is important when somebody's going, oh, I think I want to be my own property manager. You might have to fake it till you make it for the first little bit.
100%.
Yeah.
There's lots to learn.
What have been some of the key things that you have grown into or learned that you could maybe expedite somebody's learning process as a property manager, as a new first-time investor? I know this was a question I got from somebody the other day, and I wanted to refer them to you because I think you would have been the valuable conversation. But they were like, we've never been landlords before. What's a good place for us to start? So what would you say to somebody like that?
I wrote it down and I freaking misplaced my book, but understanding tenants' rights and your own rights, but realizing that everyone's still human. So like, yeah, there's lots of rules to follow. There's lots of ways that you're supposed to do things, but there's still a conversation to be had. You still need to introduce yourself to these tenants as a person, not a
law.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And, we've come up to some situations and we can follow the law, which says they should leave their unit like this, and they've left damages and they owe us money, and they owe us $1,000 of back owing rent. And, what are some of the ways, because I know that investors will be like, well, that wrecks my ROI and that loses some of my cash flow. But what are some of the ways that we have been able to justify in our own minds or have that conversation back and forth that, by not having the tenant, letting them out of their lease before the 12-month time? What are some of the tips and strategies that you've implemented for being able to work with tenants on certain stuff?
Yeah, the 12-month thing was a huge one. And I'm a stickler for rules. There's lots of times where I've said, hey, Mandy, this is the rule. And you're like, yeah, don't worry about the rule. Try this. And the big one was we kind of humanize. And I think I'm gonna overuse the word human, but life changes for everyone, and to hold them into a 1-year contract that's thousands of dollars for something they no longer can afford, or their job is in a different area, whatever that looks like. So even though we sign a 1-year lease, we make sure it's contractual, and obviously we follow the rules as best we can. I always talk to everyone to say, as long as you give me the appropriate amount of time, which we ask for 60 days, that our office is prepared to fill a unit in 60 days, no problem. We can work out, letting you out, or I say letting you out like we've captured them, but I'm not looking to fight you on anything, but I'm also not looking to lose on anything. So yeah, we always make sure that we work with the tenants, not try to control them or tell them what to do.
Yeah, that's the difference, I think, between the landlord, as in you're the lord over the land, and you are just a rental housing provider, where we're like, yeah, relationships work and then relationships fall apart. Jobs are here, jobs are gone. Yeah, lots of different situations like that. So there's a new standard Ontario lease. How do you stay on top of the landlord tenant board? What are some of the ways that you educate yourself that, again, a new investor might be able to look for basic information on landlord tenant board?
Yeah, there's a ton of Facebook groups which are, riddled with paralegals, long-term property managers, massive landlords, small landlords. There's always conversation going on there, and I think before I'm even able to look something up, there's a post on a Facebook page about Bill 184, the new lease amendments, all this stuff. It's before I'm even having a chance to research it. It's flying in my face on Facebook. So Facebook, I think, is the easiest access. But I mean, the LTB updates their website as soon as things go. So the LTB website. When we started, I thought that the really cool meetups that we were doing really helped. Just talk to people in your area and really learn what works in your area. Because again, we're dealing with Ontario-based laws and regulations. So
Yeah.
it helps. Yeah.
No, those definitely are. And I think one of you guys did a couple events when events were allowed. What's one of your go-to books for property management?
Yeah, Quentin D'Souza was huge in helping me just like own the role. I have a couple books. There's like Property Management Toolbox and the Property Management, or what is it? The Ontario Landlords something.
Yeah.
Red Book, Yellow Book is how I remember them. But written by Quentin D'Souza. He was a longtime teacher turned landlord, and he just lays it out really, really nicely. He understands how people learn and think, and it helped a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
I took that course twice actually. So
yeah, exactly. And what would be, here we are at a time of COVID, post-COVID, in between, some areas are different. So we're kind of broad, talking to the entire audience, wherever that audience might be. But what have been some of the, like, we could lay it out so that people, maybe they have an unrealistic expectation or an unrealistic statement that says all tenants aren't paying during COVID, or we've really, lost a lot of money because of this. What are some of the things that you've noticed over the last 12 months with our tenants during a pandemic? And maybe some tips of what we're able to share with the audience on how we got over those.
Yeah, so I want to say that almost every tenant that paid on time, that has been long-term, or that cared about their unit, they didn't change. Their payments didn't change. Their attitudes didn't change. Some of them have paid late, have been very open about, how, obviously we've been cut out of our jobs sometimes, depending on what the lockdown looked like. The only people that really didn't pay for us were the people that weren't paying before the pandemic started. They just kind of took advantage of a system that had holes, or that was a little broken, because we all didn't know what we were doing when this first kind of started. But I mean, when the lockdown happened, you took it upon yourself to even call every single person to let them know that we're all affected by this. And if we have any resources, and we always give out our resources, 211 is huge for Ontario. Because they actually look at the individual, they talk to them and figure out what they can do and what they qualify for.
So slow down and explain 211 a little bit.
Yeah, so 211 is just like 411. I mean, it's like 911. You call with your problem, and they arrange the proper services for your problem. We recently had a tenant call, and they guided them towards a Métis service because they found out that they were Métis. There's some other people that have never ever used these systems, and a lot of times governments have, or our government, especially specifically here, has a one-time help you with your rent payment. I think it's up to $2,200. So if you get behind, there's different or various ways they can help, and certain things are you have to fall in a certain bracket for some things, income. Race, status, single mothers probably have different things. But the beauty about 211 is you call and they ask you all these questions. You don't have to know exactly which category you fall into.
Right. So we offer that resource. But one of the interesting things that we have to share with the tenants when we share this resource is that they want to see an N4. They want to see that, don't they?
Yeah, they want to know it's legit. They don't want to just hand people money because they're asking for it. They want to know you're really in need of help, and that's what the services are for. They're for helping people get back on their feet, or stay caught up, especially during these lockdown periods. And I actually think there's new services because of COVID. So if you didn't qualify before, if you've tried it before, there might be something new, or if your tenants didn't qualify before, calling again might actually benefit them.
So then, let's even just, so there's COVID, and there's a lot of people on different government assistance, CERB, and, but, some people say, oh, I choose to not rent to people on government support systems. Well, that's going to be becoming a bigger and bigger issue. These government support systems, they just passed a 2-year research on a universal income.
Okay.
What we just kind of describe our tenant profile, and again, our tenant profile might be very different from, say, some property management companies that only do condos in Toronto. But we've got a variety of people on government programs. Just share a little bit about, are you worried about those people? How do you go through and sift through applications? So I know there'll be a lot of people that say, oh, I don't rent to anybody on a government assistance program, but there's going to be more and more of those. So what are some of your tips around doing the research on tenants?
Yeah, I mean, we do an application that includes rent, or not rent, that includes income, but it's only one of the categories that I don't want to say judging, but that we're looking at in order to see if you're a good fit for the unit. We always try to match our units with appropriate people, kids with kids, but I mean, we never discriminate. We always take into consideration, do you fit in this unit? Do you fit with us? Do you have a good history of renting? Those sorts of things. My mother's been on ODSP her entire life, so I know that being on ODSP doesn't make you a specific type of person, and ODSP doesn't always mean some people take advantage no matter the system, but it doesn't mean you're any less of a person, or that you don't take care of your unit or clean your unit or pay your rent every single month. I want to say maybe close to 25 to 40% of our units are government assisted. And we never have an issue with rent.
40, I want to say 40.
Yeah,
40,
probably pretty close.
Right? It's definitely a high percentage. And I remember sharing that with another investor. She was like, well, I'm a little concerned, she's a lovely lady, but she's on ODSP. And I was like, what? Why are we even talking about this? If she's a lovely lady and it fits, then, it should just be a good fit. Away you go. Yeah. And I think in today's market with COVID, I would tell you that 40% of our tenant profile, there was not even a concern that they weren't going to pay their rent. Nothing. Yeah,
100%. Like they're a lot of their checks still come directly to us. So it wasn't like we were waiting for them to put in the account or whatever that looked like. We were cashing checks to pay for rent every month of the pandemic. So
COVID, again, what are some of the ways that we pivoted when COVID came, that maybe a new investor is still doing some of the old ways? They're still meeting people and wanting to shake their hand and setting up, 10 viewings of a variety of potential tenants for properties. What are some easy, quick tips that a new investor can implement to be able to bring up the level of their management, even if it's just for 1 or 2 properties?
Yeah, some of the tactics that we used that I found really effective were the video. We made videos of each property in order to show them and kind of let people walk through, almost do a virtual viewing of everything. We can chat, we can talk, do your application. And until we both understood that they were going to be a good fit, they didn't really step into the property, especially if it's tenanted, because we didn't really know the regulations and rules around COVID. We were kind of learning as everyone else was learning, until we didn't know what safety measures were working or not working. So really, it saved a ton of time, regardless of health or safety measures. It was people would see the unit without having to ever take your time or set up an hour viewing or whatever that was, to know I'm not interested. That doesn't work for me. I don't really like that. Or that's not going to fit. Oh, I thought it was 3 bedrooms. That third bedroom's a little smaller than I had hoped. And then we really got to know people and what they wanted, because they were able to look at 4 or 5 properties in the 20-minute span they were looking at our properties. So
yeah, I think it was huge. And let's not overthink these videos. These were iPhone videos, scanning some rooms to get started. I know there's definitely professional companies that come in and do the little circle walkthrough, but that's, again, really difficult when there's currently tenants in place and you're trying to do a quick tenant turnover. Mm-hmm. So, if you can just take a video, you can post it on YouTube, you can just post it onto, a rental page, and people can take a look at it. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
We just even took the extra step and learned how to do minor editing in iMovie to, add some text and some transitions, and it took it to an entire new level of viewing experience.
And what about vacancies right now? Currently, February 2021. Like, tell me a little bit about, what is going on in the property management world. Oh,
So that's my vacancy board right there. It's 100% empty, which I don't think I've had in the 6 years we've been doing this. We've always had one or two, at least in the pipeline, like, oh, we know this person's moving, we know this one's coming available, whatever that looks like. I don't even hear anything from anyone. No one knows what's going on, so no one's moving to a new place, no one's starting a new job, or if they are, they're not really going to Barrie, Toronto, so they're kind of staying in the area and picking up what's here.
So what does that mean to a property management company?
It kind of feels like a safety net. I mean, I know my units are free and clear, and I can focus on helping the tenants better their units, or focus on systems and making sure that we're operating efficiently.
Yeah, absolutely. It does kind of feel a little bit surreal with nobody moving in, and yeah, you're not able to increase rents. Have you come to a spot that where share some of the back landlord tenant board that we've been waiting for, maybe even a couple, maybe even the 2 cases from last year, just to be able to share with people that the delays that we have had in Ontario?
Yeah, so when we went into lockdown, almost all government services were shut down, other than obviously not necessary ones like police, fire, etc. So the LTV, I want to say it was 4 or 5 months where they weren't even processing paperwork. You could send it in still, but no one was touching it, no one was looking at it, no one was getting anything going. And then in the summertime, they just started going through them as they came in. So we filed, I want to say we filed a couple in January, and we didn't hear them till June, July, August. And
we had dates. We had dates at the end of March.
Right.
And they got canceled because of COVID, which made sense. And then those ones were not reheard until October.
Yeah,
September.
5-6 months later for sure. And now it's kind of happening again. We filed. So we've got through quite a few late ones. There was a few people taking advantage, a few people that were just honestly in bad positions that didn't know what to do themselves. But we've overcome all the ones in January. And
my voice, my sound is gone, Larry.
I can still hear you. Can you hear me? No.
That's okay. Technical difficulties on the show today.
Yeah.
You know what? There was a question in the chat. If you can still hear me, then that's fine. I'll just pretend there. Patrick asked a question. Are there any courses or certifications to become a property manager?
There's nothing that you need to operate as a property manager. But obviously anything you can provide someone that wants to use you as experience or anything like that would be helpful. But I don't have a designation. I don't have we have a paralegal we're working with, and they have a specific law number, but we don't have that in Ontario. I have heard of it in other places in Canada, but Ontario doesn't have any specific designation. Plug in hands. So yeah, the quick answer is no, but there, I did take courses. I did make sure that I was educated.
So why don't you just end, Curtis, with your top 10 ways, or I don't even want to put you on the spot for 10, but like some of your tips and tricks that you just feel would be optimal for people to if they're going to self-manage a property, what some of the tips and tricks are for you to be able to leave them with.
Yeah, so getting everything cloud-based inside or outside of a pandemic would be super helpful. Having the tenants have access to regular maintenance updates or being able to request any sort of or get questions answered immediately or quickly through some sort of cloud-based service, whether that's, obviously we use email. Not everyone has email. There's lots of apps out there that can help you manage your tenants. We're actually using a property management software called Rental Gauge, and implementing that in the near future to kind of have an all-in-one spot. You said top 10 things. Can you hear me now? No. So really understanding your area and your laws, or I don't want to say laws, but the LTB regulations in our area only allow us to do certain things. And we haven't gotten in trouble, but we've definitely pushed some buttons and gotten some phone calls. So knowing that, knowing what you can and cannot do in Ontario is super helpful. Communicate with your tenants. Don't let things go and fester. Really distracting.
I still can't hear anything, so I'm just gonna look pretty right here.
But honestly,
so what you said was exactly what I would have liked to listen to, Curtis.
Sounds good.
So
we'll have to do this again. I don't know if I'm still live or Mandy's still live.
You go. Finish off the show. Say thank you to everybody for tuning in, and I'm gonna leave you as the host.
Sounds good. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, reach out to people that own houses in your area. Reach out to people like Mandy or me. We might not be able to answer your question, but we can definitely point you in the right direction. We've been to a ton of meetings in the area with property managers or people that own one house, two house, that are just looking for answers. And there is a ton of people that have been collaborating online, in person before COVID, that really made things easier for us. So yeah, touch base with people that are doing the same thing as you, and check places like Meetup. There's Facebook groups. You can just type in Ontario. I think one's Ontario Landlord Haven, Ontario Landlord Watch. Touch base with me on Facebook. It's just Curtis Mohan. You can hit me up, and I can definitely send you some links or send you some direction or where to find things. But
Curtis is a great resource. See, I can hear again. Curtis is a great resource for property management. So thank you. Sorry about that. I had something come up on my phone and I swiped it away, and away goes my sound. So thank you, Curtis, for being here and being a guest today on my show. Thank you, everybody, for watching Property Management, the dash of real estate. Don't forget that it doesn't exist. You got to know that it's there. You want to buy an asset. You want to make some money. You want to hold it. It's generationally. But the importance of that dash is essential, isn't it?
100%. I'm mad at myself for not bringing up the dash earlier. I really liked that the first time you told me that.
I actually said it before you got on the show.
Okay, awesome. It really helped my mindset of like, there's an end goal, but there's a bunch of stuff in the middle that we still have to deal with. So
can I name Margot's asking for the name of Quentin's book again?
Do I have them here?
We can post a link in the show notes.
Yeah, it's a property management toolbox is one of them. You can look up Quentin D'Souza on Facebook, and usually his marketing stuff has his 2 or 3 books. He also has the one he did with Andrew, but I can't remember what that one's called.
Yeah, the Burr model method. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it was really cool to read it like the way they proposed it. It's actually from the perspective of a person rather than just a laid out, this is the steps that you take to do the Burr method. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Curtis. Property management. Don't wish it away, because that's what we're here to do, provide housing. So thank you, everybody. I will see you next week and give you an update on my Tony Robbins. Yay!
Yay!
Life